Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I have a terrifying story to share with you out of Ridge Manor, Florida, where police say a beautiful teen girl was found brutally unalived near Cypress Lake Preserve on March 27th of 2025. News reports have identified the victim as Abriella Elliott, and police say she was found deceased by a passerby hiking in the preserve. They say after conducting many interviews with Abriella's family and friends, they received a tip from someone who told them that Abriella snuck out of her house to meet up with someone she knew in the middle of the night, just a few hours before her body was found. When police found out that information, they said they realized that they had spoken to that teen, Cameron Kubel, and he told police he was nowhere near the preserve the night before. But police found out differently, and they arrested 16-year-old Kubel, and he's being charged with first-degree murder. So, I would imagine they believe he planned her unaliving and lured her out of her home in the middle of the night. Here's a press conference held by police with all the details they're sharing so far. May Abriella Elliott rest in peace. And thank you so very much for watching.
Neen Heiss. As you probably know, we're here as a result of a death investigation, and to give you a little bit of background, what occurred is yesterday morning about 9:37, we received a call from an individual just up the trail here behind me, just a tiny bit, that he had found what he believed to be a young female deceased. Of course, first responders came to the area and within several minutes determined that this young lady was in fact deceased. Of course, that sets a whole litany of things into place, that things we have to go through, procedures and so forth, cordon off the crime scene and start doing a death investigation, which includes calling the medical examiner and so forth. Probably within the first hour or two, we were fortunate because we certainly did not have this individual identified, but somebody did come forward and say that a young lady, a juvenile, was missing, and that person believed that this might be that individual. Again, when the medical examiner came here and we started processing the scene, it was evident fairly quickly that it was a very suspicious death, likely the cause of homicidal violence. That obviously got the detectives involved, both our major case detectives, property crimes detectives, and others, as well as community policing and forensics and crime analysis, all jumped in and started working this case. We quickly found out through one witness that this young lady apparently left her home in the middle of the night, and again, this is a juvenile, left her home at about 1:30 in the morning. So we were relatively confident almost immediately that there was, she went to go meet an individual who was likely the person who killed her. We started interviewing a couple people that we originally thought might have met with her, and that turned out to not be the case. These individuals we were able to determine over the course of yesterday afternoon and late into last night that they were not involved. As late as this morning, we were doing good old-fashioned police work, talking to a bunch of people, issuing a lot of search warrants as well as preservation orders on electronic media type and electronic social media accounts and so forth. And we happened to get fortunate that a lead was developed of a particular individual who may have had contact with her, and we'd already talked with this individual. And to give you some perspective, over about a 24-hour period or a little bit longer, we did close to 24 formal interviews, as well as talked to dozens of other people informally, knocking on doors and so forth. We probably had about a dozen different documents that we had to do, like as I said, search warrants and preservation orders. So detectives worked very late into last night, as well as getting up very early this morning and continued working. One of the things that we did, one of those kind of informal interviews, led us to believe that a person might have been in the area who originally told us that he was not in the area, and of course that caused us to focus in on that particular individual. I'm happy to report that a few hours ago, about 2 or 3 hours ago, after interviewing this individual and talking with the state attorney's office, we were able to develop enough information where the state attorney was comfortable in charging a Mr. Cameron Cubel, C-U-B-E-L. He's a 16-year-old white male, and he was charged, or is in the process of being charged, with first-degree murder. Again, that's in consultation with our local state attorney's office. We get them involved almost immediately when we have some situation like this to make sure that they are comfortable with the case. The only history somewhat significant for this particular individual is a battery arrest last year. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot of history. Again, we don't have a whole lot of information that we can release. I can tell you that likely the cause of death was from an edged weapon. Again, initial reports were we could tell pretty quickly that there was a lot of passion and a lot of violence involved in the particular death. So we were relatively confident it was not a random act, and as I said, because she did sneak out in the middle of the night to meet with some individuals, one or more individuals, we were confident that she likely knew her killer, and this individual and our victim do have known each other in the past. So this case, fortunately, because of the hard work of individuals in my major case section, as well as crime analysis, forensics, and a myriad of other people in the sheriff's office, we have this case solved in about 24 to 36 hours from when it was originally reported. I don't know if I can give you a whole lot of information other than the fact that this is solved. Obviously, if any of your listeners know of anything about this case, we are always willing to take more information to make a case stronger, or if there was anybody else involved in this. Right now we don't necessarily have any information that anybody else was involved, but we're certainly not eliminating that fact as a possibility, and we would certainly take any information anybody's willing to give us. So I think that's about all I can give you. Lieutenant Drew's here, my major case lieutenant, and maybe we could answer a couple questions for you. Again, we don't have a whole lot more than what I've already given you, but I can tell you that it is a juvenile female, but that's all I'm going to release because of Marcy's Law. Again, I can tell you that she did leave her house in the middle of the night, and we believe that the encounter, the murder occurred sometime not long after that.
And what was the previous relationship between the two?
Well, again, if I talk too much about the relationship, it might give information about who the victim was. And again, we are not at liberty to give that, but suffice it to say, they were not strangers. That's about all I can say.
Who reported the juvenile missing and when?
She actually was not reported missing prior to us finding the body.
The person who came forward, was that a parent that came forward who said that?
Again, if I talk too much about it, I don't want to give away too much information, but somebody did, because of what was going on here at the scene, somebody approached us and said, we believe it might be a particular individual, and it did turn out, after several hours it took us to get the scene process, we were able to positively identify the victim as that individual, so that did turn out to be the case. But the first indication we had of who the identity of the victim was, because of this individual who actually came here, saw the commotion, and gave us that information.
Do you believe the murder took place here, or did it take place somewhere else?
We've discussed that a lot, and all the everything indicates that it did. We're not totally ruling out something different, but all the indications are that it did occur a very short distance north of us here on the trail here at Cypress Lake Preserve Trailhead.
And then your suspect, is he local to the area? What's his?
Yeah, he actually lives in the area of US 41 and Croom. So it's in I think it's actually in the city limits of Brooksville, or very close there too. So it's, for reference, it's going to be west of here several miles.
Can you just talk about the impact that it has on your investigator when you have a juvenile that's so young, goes out in the middle of the night? I mean, this is it's a hard case to work, but we had a very similar case in St. Petersburg. I don't know if you're familiar with it, from last month, with another teen ran out in the middle of the night, met a man, and was killed. So I don't know if you have a message or something that your investigators would like to add.
Well, I think we have a couple messages. Number one, there is no murder that is easy to work. When it involves a young person, I will tell you that it tugs at the heartstrings of everybody involved, whether they have children or not. But if they have children, obviously it's even more heart-wrenching. Young people, and as we like to say, high-risk lifestyles, and going out in the middle of the night as a young teenager is certainly high risk, and it certainly does not. We certainly are not blaming the victim. She did not deserve what she got, but from a crime prevention standpoint, it's important to be, when you're a teenager, even as an adult, it's important to be in bed, during the middle of the night, because your chances of being a victim of a crime go down substantially if you're in your own home. But that being said, we also understand that young people don't always make the great decisions, and they certainly don't deserve to be murder victims.
So is he being charged as an adult then?
As of at the moment, he's being charged as a juvenile, but in talking with the state attorney, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but in these types of cases, it's very likely he will be charged as an adult if they haven't already done that. I think that's a process they have to go through to adjudicate him as an adult or charge him as an adult, but that's likely going to occur. But that ultimately is going to be up to the state attorney when they get the whole package together.
Your investigators for the first-degree murder charge, they believe it was premeditated?
Again, talking with the state attorney's office, they believe they have sufficient probable cause to believe that this is the charge of first-degree murder is appropriate in this particular case. I will tell you, and that brings up a very good point, despite all the work that's been done on this case in the last day and a half, there is still a monumental amount of work that still has to be done to shore up all the things that we believe today are facts, to verify those and give the prosecutor whatever he or she needs to make sure they can make a good case. So it is not over. The detectives don't get to go home now and put their feet up on the desk. There's going to be a lot of work over the next several weeks and even months to prepare this for prosecution. So.
Sheriff, you also mentioned that the likely cause of death of the victim was from an edged weapon. What sort of details can you share as far as what led to that conclusion?
Well, again, it was because of the wounds, and the medical examiner doing the autopsy's already been completed, and that is the official cause of death. It was an altercation with an edged weapon. I will tell you that it was nothing short of very violent. I will tell you that.
And the spelling of his last name again, Buell?
It is C-U-B-E-L. And his first name is Cameron, and his date of birth is 8/18 of 2008.
C-U-B-E-L.
What's that?
C-U-B-E-L?
C-U-B-E-L, yes, sir.
Cool.
And again, for those of you who may not have got it, this is his photograph. So. His last name? C-U-B-E-L, Kubel. Kubel, I guess.
Did you go to high school nearby?
I'm sorry?
Did you go to high school nearby?
We were just discussing that. I don't know. I know the investigators know the answer to that, but I'm not 100% sure. That is one thing we were talking about literally 5 minutes ago. He may have gone to Hernando High. I'm not sure if he still does or not. So.
You mentioned he was found not far from here. There's a map right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Can you kind of point like where we are versus
I got to make sure I understand exactly where we are. I think we are here, but literally, it is within. There's a trail here, and it's probably within less than 100 yards, maybe even 50 yards.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're talking a very short distance up the trail behind me. Very short distance.
Sheriff, I know you don't want to speak too much to their relationship, but have you been able to determine a motive?
Not. I really don't want to go into that just yet. All right. I know. Again, we're still working through a lot of those unanswered questions, and hopefully we'll get answers to as many of those as we possibly can. So.
Social media was a big factor in this case.
I'm sorry?
Social media was a big factor in this case?
No, I would say that the break came from good old-fashioned police work. Good old-fashioned police work. A whole lot of work combined with a tiny bit of luck, because identifying the individual, I think the individual just happened to be going by. I don't think that they saw it on social media. I think they were in the area, and as far as the break, which originally led us to this individual, although we did know of him and actually talked with him, but the break we got was from just talking to people and getting some information that led us to believe that he was much more involved than he told us during our initial very short and informal interview with him. So, all right. All right, thank you all very much for coming. If you have any questions or concerns, I think the public information team will get you a photograph of the individual and some more information. If anything comes available, you are welcome to call them if you have any additional follow-up questions. Again, thank you all for coming out. We appreciate the partnership. Thank you.